What's up, YouTube friends? Now, I still have the sniffles, unfortunately, but I'm feeling crafty. So today we're going to make a rag quilt. It's getting colder here in Nebraska, so I want something else to snuggle up with at night. I do have some sort of a plan here. I am going to do 5 blocks by 5 blocks. The blocks are going to be 15 inches. It's going to be about 70 by 70 when I'm done with it. I want to do it square so that I can get this little bullseye pattern if I have enough flannel. I raided my flannel shelf and I have this cute little fox print, some deer, frogs. I really love this unicorn fabric and I have a whole bunch of it. And here's some cows and chickens. For the back, I'm probably going to use, or I'm not probably, I am going to use this teal and gold. I don't know if I'm going to do a checkerboard on the back or just do the teal for the backing and then the gold for the middle layer. We'll see. So as I mentioned before, these are going to be 15-inch blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all of this up and I'll bring you right back. Alright friends, so I'm missing some footage here. But in the meantime, I cut out 13 teal blocks, 12 gold blocks, and I laid those face down in this checkered board pattern. I then went ahead and I cut out 25 just random pieces of flannel. The color doesn't matter, the print does not matter, and I laid those on top of that. Now for the top, I went ahead and I cut out 1 yellow, 4 of the blue frog fabric, 8 of the white fabric, 8 of the red fabric, and 4 of the black fabric. I laid those on top in this pattern. I then went ahead and I pinned those together with our quilt block markers that we made in a previous video. I'll link it at the end of this one. And now I'll take you back to the regular scheduled programming. So normally your next step would be to sew these corner to corner, but I'm not going to do that. I want to save myself a little bit of time here. So what I plan on doing is just putting a tie in the center when this is all complete. Now this is the perfect time to use our little quilt block markers. There's 25 blocks. I use the alphabet ones. So this one happens to be U and V. This is the bottom row of my quilt. So what I'm doing is I'm just lining up all 3 as best I can. If they need to be ironed, go ahead and iron them. I'm going to do the same thing with V. So now I'm just going to flip V over so that the back side is facing up. I'm going to lay U over top, line up my edges, and then pin or clip. I'm just going to use clips. If it's an older flannel, it does tend to stretch a little bit more. I've come across that a few times in this rag quilt. So in that case, I would go ahead and just pin a lot. So now we just need to take this over to our sewing machine. I'm going to use about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end and sew all the way down my side seam. So I went ahead and put on my walking foot. It does make it a lot easier to get through all these layers. I then moved my needle all the way to the left. And then I'm just going to run the edge of my fabric with the edge of my presser foot. I also bumped my length up to a 4 or a 3.5, somewhere in between there. So now I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut about every 1/2 inch on our side seam here, not going through our threads. Just like that. If you do happen to snip through your thread, just take it back to your sewing machine. Start a little way away from your snip, backstitch, sew over that snip, and backstitch. So now I'm just going to open this up. So now I'm just going to find my E row marker. This is going to be row E. Just so I don't get confused. And so I'm going to do the exact same thing. I have W here. I'm going to do the exact same thing, attach it to my row until I have all 5 sewed together. Alright guys, so I have my whole row sewn together and clipped. So now we just need to sew our rows together. So now I'm going to take row D. These are my last 2 rows of the quilt. I'm going to make sure that my D marker is on the left hand side, and then I'm going to flip it so that the wrong side is facing up, and then I'm just going to take my row E and lay it on top of there, matching up my seams. I like to start in the middle and work my way out to the sides. If there's any extra fabric or anything, I want that on the ends. So now I'm just going to match up my seams, and I'm going to have the top one to the left and my bottom seam allowance to the right. And then I just like to stick a pin. Then I would just like to come to the center of the block, just kind of make sure everything's laying as flush as possible. And then either stick a pin or a clip. And now I'm just going to take this back over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew with that 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way down my seam, backstitching at the beginning and the end. I just like to go really slow over my seams. That's a whole lot of fabric there. And just like before, I'm going to come along here and cut about every 1/2 inch, not cutting into my seam. Alright guys, so I have all my rows attached together. I then went ahead and I sewed with that 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around the border of my quilt. And so now I'm just going to come back and fray the edges. Any of these areas that got trapped in the seam allowance, I just like to come and kind of clip those free again on either side of the seam allowance. That way those fluff up and you won't even see that. So I'm going to get this all clipped and I'll show you the final product. Alright, so this is what it looks like all finished up. I will have some finished pictures here in the video of the front and the back. I think the back turned out really cute. I really love that color combo. But this is after 2 washings and 2 dryings. I'm going to wash and dry them again, probably a couple more times, just to get rid of any of the lint and fuzzes and all that stuff. But right now I'm just going around, in any long pieces like right here, I'm just going to trim them. If there's any extra threads, like down here, just trim them. Then I just like to take it to the back, and now I'm just going to make sure that all my seams are sewn and there's no holes. It's way easier on the back. If you like this video and want to see more of my videos, go down below and hit that big red subscribe button. Give this video a big thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.